Oscar Pistorius is set to stand trial for the murder of Reeva Steenkamp, and the whole country will be watching. We're joined by criminal law expert William Booth, who's going to talk us through what we should expect in the coming days. Now, of course, Oscar has a team of legal eagles. He has some of the greatest minds in the country working for him, and they're going to do their absolute best to make sure that it is believable, that his story does sound true. What do you think of his team?
Certainly, very, very few people in South Africa can afford a team of lawyers and a team of forensic experts. So, you know, he is in that fortunate position. He has the right to appoint all these people, and I'm sure they will be spending many hours looking at the evidence, trying to get into the evidence to show some doubt, throw doubt on the evidence, and also looking at, should it be necessary once Oscar goes and gives evidence, that he is fully prepared, that he knows exactly what he's going to say. But don't forget the bail hearing. He can't ignore what he told the court on affidavit at the bail hearing. Because although our law says you don't have to give evidence, what one says at a bail hearing is evidence that can be used by the state in the trial. Although at a bail hearing you don't have to say anything either, certainly about the case and what took place. So they're going to be looking at all of this and looking at ways and means of discrediting any witnesses. Let's say the witnesses who seemingly say they heard them having an argument. They will try and discredit them by saying, well, hang on, how far were you away? How could you have heard? You know, the wind was blowing,
was the television on?
TV was on, you know, maybe getting experts in to check how far you can hear people talking or shouting, you know, distances and all of that stuff. Because with cases, many witnesses come and say things, but when they tested under cross-examination, a different story comes out. A cross-examination is an art. So if you know how to do it and how to ask the questions, and also you don't ever ask a question if you do not know the answer. Don't ask in blind. But so with an effective cross-examiner and a team of other lawyers and experts who can give the information, because don't forget, lawyers aren't expert forensic people. They might do cases where they've had a lot of forensic experience, they might have read the books, they might have spoken to forensic experts to get information. They need the input on a specific case from the forensic expert. Say somebody who's a DNA expert, somebody who's a ballistic expert, a firearm, all that kind of thing. So that information is fed to the lawyer who then uses it in cross-examination. So a case that looks marvelous for the state in the beginning can be picked at, and at the end witnesses might contradict themselves, might be hesitant, and might contradict other evidence. But Oscar's case is one of those cases that I believe, even if there's a mess up with the forensics, even if the evidence has, the crime scene, the evidence on the crime scene has been trampled on. We know that Inspector Botha came along and seemed to mess up everything. I think he himself acknowledged that. Even if that is the case, you're still stuck with what Oscar said in the bail hearing. I thought it was an intruder. I got up and I did this, or I did that, or I did the next thing, and I got my firearm and I went to the bathroom and I shot 4 times. So, even if the court says the forensics is a mess, the court might still say, on that version, the state has proved a case, but not necessarily of murder premeditated, not necessarily of murder, maybe of culpable homicide or manslaughter. Because the difference there is that in culpable homicide, it's negligence. And negligence, the test in the law, and our courts must look at, is what would the reasonable person have done? Would the reasonable person have done what Oscar did and be under the mistaken belief that it was an intruder and have shot so many times? So there's always that kind of risk. But the court could say, if the evidence is bad on the forensics, the court could say, well, hang on, I'm not happy that the state has proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt. There's been a mess up with the forensics, and that might convince the court to acquit him. But, you know, sometimes if a case just revolves around forensics and there've been lies told, as it were, evidence planted, the court could say, well, look, I'm dismissing this case because the police are in here with dirty hands, as it were, and then say the state hasn't proved its case beyond a reasonable doubt. But the court might say, look, I reject all the forensics. They've messed up. I take no cognizance of that. But we're still stuck with these facts, and those facts being what Oscar did in going and trying to find out what was going on, and the whole issue of his belief that there was an intruder in the apartment.